I'm doing fantastic, amazing. And I just have to say, before we kick this off, I have never met anyone that has my exact birthday.
April 12th, 1962.
Yes, sir.
Where were you born?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Wow. What time of day? Do you know?
Uh, no, I don't.
It was a
No.
Thursday.
It was? I
It was
didn't
a
know
Thursday.
that.
Yeah. I
That
was
must
born
be
at
a famous date.
522. Huh?
We gotta put that CEO of a major company and then also the founder of Everclear. So we have so there you go. Two people born on the same day. I'm glad you threw me off like that, Greg. I love that. So our guest today is Art Alexakis. He is the founder of Everclear. Alex, thanks for stopping by. How are you?
You just called me Alex, man.
Alex, Art, thanks for stopping by.
Art.
Don't look at the words. If you look at the words, it'll screw you up. People like try to look, they see that X. I'm doing well, by the way. Thank you
Yeah,
for having
yeah.
me.
So it's okay. You know, you just go in the laundry list of interesting celebrities I've had today. So we're going to kind of go right into it, Greg, with your first question. But Greg threw it off, right? He had to talk about you guys had the same birthday. I've not met anyone same birthday, same year ever. So I don't know if you have.
Ever. No, me neither.
Okay.
I've met, you're the third or fourth person I've met born the same day. We had back in the 90s when we were blowing up, we had a bus driver. And I thought for sure this guy was like 10 years older than me, right? He's from York,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. This little guy, and he's just like really nice to us, but then he'd drive and he'd just turn into like the devil. And everybody else, he'd be like, "You son of a," and I go, "Yes, Art, what can I do for you?" It was like do you remember that movie Nightmare Before Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the mayor of Halloween Town, his head's was that guy. But he was born on the same day, same year.
Well, okay. All
Oh,
right.
that's
Another
fantastic.
superstar. Go ahead, Greg, with your first question.
But I just wanted to ask you, how did you get into, playing the guitar? Were you like born with it? Tell me about that,
No, I remember so we're the same age. So back when I was like 3.5, 4, we were living in Santa Monica in an apartment, and my mom would put me to bed, and it was Sunday night, and the rest of the family would be out on the couch, in the living room watching Ed Sullivan. And this is 65, 66, and I heard this noise, and I was in my room, in my jammies, probably my Batman jammies, and I heard the sound, and I snuck out like I often did, and I'd hide behind the couch. And, my parents are out there with my brothers and sisters. They're probably drinking and smoking, all of them. This is the 60s. Everybody drinking and smoking. You're 8 years old, have a cigarette. And it was like, and I looked at the screen and I saw these guys playing music, and I just lost it. And I ran around to the TV and just started dancing. And my sister, my eldest sister, says I was in my underwear, which I categorically deny. But I that was it for me, guys. That's all I wanted to ever do. And when I got old enough to get guitar lessons that my mom could afford, I was probably 13 or 14, and living in Santa Monica. And yeah, that was it. And
That's great.
that's all I ever wanted to do.
So
I didn't want to be a rock star. I didn't want to be like huge. I wanted to be, because that didn't seem realistic. I wanted to play rock and roll and have a middle class house, because I lived in a housing project. So middle class was like 3 levels up for me.
Yeah.
White picket fence, wife, 2.3 kids, dog. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be normal, but I wanted to play rock and roll.
go figure, and you became famous. Now let's go really with the guitar. We don't always get what we want, but we kind of wish we were kind of like, oh, I'll take it. What makes you so excited to play the guitar? Is there a certain your brain, how does it react when you're playing a guitar? Like when I'm doing interviews, it's like I've done over about 15,000 arts, or more, and I'd say 10,000 to 15,000. I'm averaging about 20 to 30 a week. So I'm always talking to people, always on point, and it seems like nothing to me, and it's so much fun. Like if I could talk 24/7, I would.
I
Tell
can see,
me,
I can see that.
tell me specifically you and how you like feel when you play the guitar.
Good. Okay. Because I don't know if I've done 15,000, but I've probably done a good 1,000, 3,000 interviews. The difference is I'm always talking about myself. That, and it's funny because I was a journalism major in college, and I changed it because I realized I wanted to write. I just didn't want to write about, you know, other people, and I didn't want to really write by myself about myself, but I wanted to do, I didn't want to write about it. And but playing guitar, um, especially electric guitar, it's just it kicks off endorphins in me. I'm sure it does. Uh, you know, and then when I learned how to write songs and just take these ideas, because I thought it's like, okay, I'm not a songwriter. That's something that's Dylan, Springsteen, that's these guys. Um, yeah, why couldn't I write songs? Once I got over that hump of thinking I wasn't good enough, because I had a lot of low self-esteem, and I think that plagues a lot of people with being able to just grasp what they want to do, and because they think they can't do it,
Mm,
and really don't know if you can do it until you try.
Well,
mm.
I'm curious. The song "I'll Buy You a New Life." Uh, what uh, what was the inspiration for that? Where did that come from?
Um, well, it was after Sparkle and Fade, our first major label record that had Santa Monica on it, had been a success, and we bought this house. Um, so let me go backwards a little bit. So a year or two before the band had success, we were living in a really crappy part of Portland called Felony Flats. That was not the official name, but that was really what people called it for obvious reasons. And we drive my screwed up, messed up Nissan Sentra that had broken windows and taped plastic and taped trunk because someone popped the lock and stole one of my guitars and took me and my girlfriend at the time, who became my second wife, and our baby, who at the time was probably about 6 months old, and we get her a Happy Meal, right, which is super white trash, but we did that, and then we go up to the West Hills, where all the nice rich white people lived, and um, we'd go up there and look at, and we'd park in front of people's houses. I'm sure they thought we were casing their houses, and we just like, like, oh man, I love that house, but I love that driveway, and we'd fantasize, me and my girlfriend, about living up there. And 2 years later, we bought a house up in the West Hills from
Beautiful.
from Everclear. So I wrote that song after I had bought the house, and um, just it was just a love song for my wife at the time, who, that was my second wife. I'm married to my fourth wife. We're about to celebrate 20 years of
Wow.
our anniversary in next week.
Wow.
And so this song evolves from different people, but it's still that feeling's still there about like I'll buy you a new life. It's not really about money, it's about the love. It's like I'll do whatever I have to do to have this life with you.
No, it's
If
so
that
powerful.
I
Yeah.
have to go make $1 million to pay for it, whatever, let's do it. And that's what that's about. I've always related money to wealth in songs. I do that a lot. There's a song called Heart Spark Dollar Sign that's on Sparkle and Fade, and it's just about the value of the heart, and it's not about money. It's about a biracial relationship I was in, interracial relationship that I was in, and just caught a lot of flack from she did from her community, and I did from my community, and that was in the '80s. But
Mm.
and we like to think it's different now, but in a lot of places it's not. And it's still a song that really talks to me, but that's the thing I value. Um, I like money because it just makes life easier, but I've never been one to really want things like
Mm,
Ferraris, you
mm.
know.
Yeah.
Want a cool car. I'm a California guy, so I got a Bronco, and I think it's
Nice.
cool. My wife has the fancy car. She has a Beamer.
Okay.
It's not OJ's Bronco, right?
Now this is a new Bronco, dude. This is the cool one. That wasn't even a Bronco. That was an Explorer
That's
parading,
what I thought.
parading as a Bronco. Yeah, was that his car? Or was that his buddy's car?
It was his buddies. Yeah.
That's his buddy's car who was driving it, right?
It seems like from your songwriting, when you songwrite, you basically take from a lot of your experiences what you write. That's what you do.
Only
No?
about 2/3 of the time. So I'd say a third of my songs are autobiographical, and then another third are I take situations from my life. Either it could be like make an amalgam or a composite of a character from something that happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and something that happened last week. And I'll just make a character from those things. And then I'll use outside stuff in that same context of like maybe it's not a guy, maybe it's a gal, and maybe it's maybe it's from the first person. See, a lot of people have the misnomer that all my songs are autobiographical because I like to write from the first person. I'm a songwriter, I'm a storyteller, and I like speaking from the first person. So so a third is autobiographical, a third is composites built from real life and maybe fantasy, and then the other third I just make up stories. And if I can do it and you can't tell the difference, I'm doing my job. Suspension of disbelief, right?
Yeah.
English 101.
Oh, wow.
So the solo album, Sun Songs, what
Nice.
made you create that, and how is it? And tell us about that. Yeah.
How is it? I think it's
Yeah.
okay. I
I
haven't
think it's
checked
pretty
in
good.
with it
I like
lately.
it. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I just always had the fantasy of doing an album where I played everything, a
Yeah.
real solo album. Like I played everything. The only other guy that would be in the room is the guy recording me and miking things, right? And that I did it. I have a little studio and in like about a mile down the road and here in Pasadena, California, and I did it over a period of like 6 to 8 months, not like every day, and it was cool. It was cool to do it, and I wrote about a lot of personal things and political things and just different things. And it's mostly acoustic guitar. There's very little electric guitar on it. A little bit of keyboard. I played it all. I played all the drums, and that record came out in 2019, about the time I talked first publicly about my diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, which I had been diagnosed in 2016.
Mm.
And because of the MS and because I can't use my right leg to do the kick drum, it doesn't respond like that. It's okay. It's like when I'm walking, when you walk, your brain tells you to put your foot there. I tell my foot to go there, but the MS tells it to go over there,
Oh, my.
Yeah.
over here, or go sideways, so I trip on stuff. So that's what we're up against. That and balance and fatigue and sometimes rage. That's sometimes digestive stuff. They call it the MS hug. So I've got some stuff, but I work so much and I work so hard that I think it really helps me stay cognitive and physically um, ahead of the game than if I was sedentary, if I was just staying at home waiting on, um, royalty checks and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm actually grateful for my MS in a lot of ways because I think it keeps me more present.
So, where do you think you get that work ethic from?
My
I
mother,
guess your mother.
100%. I was raised by my mom. My dad left when I was 6, and I've known him a little bit, and I had love for my dad. I didn't hate my dad. A lot of people think I did, and I'm like, I didn't. But that little boy was hurt, and I don't know if you guys have kids, but um, when people who have children, a lot of times will watch their kids sleep. It's cheap entertainment.
Yeah.
You just watch your kids sleep and get all emotional. And I remember watching my oldest daughter sleep, must have been 96, 90, 97. And I was already working on songs for the follow-up record. Uh, and after Sparkle and Fade. And I remember looking at her sleeping, just going, how does a man walk away from this? I mean, I don't get it. I just don't get how you can physically do that. I understand that if it's not working out with your wife, people change. You can move down the street and raise your kid. That's what you do. And through my divorce and raising my second child, that's what I did. Uh,
Wow. Was that the
and
inspiration for Father of Mine, that song,
yeah,
or?
that
Yeah.
I brought, I watched her do that. I watched her sleeping. My second or third wife went to bed. I went, my second wife, her mom, and I went to my office, which was one of the bedrooms on a lower level, and I stayed up all night and wrote that song.
Mm, okay. Now, thinking about specifically enough, next year, 2025, you have some stuff with plans ahead, right? It's coming up. Tell us about that.
Well, January we're going to um, New Zealand for a big tour. It's summer down there in January, so that'll be fun. Um, and then just a lot of one-offs. Like we do a lot of flyaway shows during the year. We did 67 of them last year,
Wow.
um, or 62 rather. And when I say last year, I mean 2024, this year. We just finished our last run like 3, 4 days ago. Just three shows. But we always do a bus tour in September, October. That's the last time we got off the bus. And next year, we're celebrating 30 years of Sparkle and Fade, our first big record, and we're going to do a remaster with it. And they're going to let me into the vault, so I'm going to go through and find old songs and demos and stuff, and just make a really cool package, remaster the whole thing, do it on vinyl, and so that'll be available next year. We're going to tour with some really cool 90s bands. We already got them set up. I can't tell you who it is yet, but that's going to be cool. And we're going to tour New Zealand, like I said, in January. And then in November, we're going to go back to Australia, which is a big market for us. So we got a busy year and just a lot of shows. And I've decided, and this is the first time I've said it in the press, I've decided to make a new Everclear record because I've been saying I didn't want to make a new Everclear record. So this next year, I'm already writing songs, and we're gonna do it instead of going in and just recording like a whole record all at once. We're gonna do 2, 3 songs like in February, and then maybe another 2 or 3 songs in May, and then do the summer, and it'll come out in 2026.
Excellent. Well, that's great news for 2024 to 2025. Greg has a final question he asks all our celebrities. Go ahead, Greg, with your question.
Second to last question.
Second to last. Okay.
I had read that you support military families, and I
I
think
have
that's
in the past, yeah.
exemplary. So, what got you involved doing that? That was pretty terrific.
Well, I mean, people had asked me, and I always have been supportive of people. Uh, no one in my family is in the military, but I've always been supportive of military families, and I see the dichotomy. I see the differences between that and being and supporting war, which I don't. And back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when they actually early 2000s, when the uh, I guess it was that Desert Storm? Was it
Yeah.
in 2003 with W. Bush? Um, there was all these protests in Portland, which is pretty liberal town, and we went to them because I was protesting the war because I thought it was a stupid war. There was no WMOs, um, but it just seemed to me to be a war about oil, not about protecting American
Yeah.
sovereignty. Um, but at the same time, I had offers from families to come to rallies that were pro service, and I went to them, and I was very open with people that I was against the war, but I was supporting them because they've made the choice to defend our country. They don't decide who to go bomb or who to go to war with. They're just being of service to our country, which I am very, very grateful for. And
Yeah.
because I've been clean and sober for 35 years off of alcohol and drugs, and I'm very involved in a 12-step program and working my program and being a part of that. So being of service to people is a very important part of that program.
Wow, that's wonderful. It's great to hear that. Okay, last question from
Okay.
me. Anyway, I don't know if Neil has a dozen more, but I have one. So I ask everyone this, and I'm really excited to hear your answer, given the fact that we're born the same day, and it was a Thursday. I came to learn. I have no idea what time my mom passed. I can't ask her.
It's on your birth certificate.
Oh, it is.
It
I'll
should
have to go check that out
be.
if
You
I
know
can
where
find.
where they put the footprints?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be right there.
All right. I'll have to go check that out.
Mhm.
All right. Art, tell me, what do you feel is the most important thing in life you've ever learned?
I don't know if there's just one thing. It's a deep question, but it also seems so shallow because it's so wide encompassing. I don't mean that as a criticism. It just I think one of the thing that I learned about myself is that um, I work better when I am grateful and present and aware. Um, because I'm an alcoholic, seriously old school, blackout, disappear for 4 days, alcoholic. Um, and when my book comes out in another year or two, I'm working on it now. Um, you'll see some pretty not pretty stories because I'm not going to hold stuff back. I'm going to be pretty honest about it. I'm not going to name names of other people, but when it comes to myself, I'm going to be 100% honest. And because I think it's a good lesson. And if there's one thing I've learned that, you know, life is going to go up and life is going to go down and you just got to stick with it. And that sounds like a vague answer, but it's really true. In my life, I've had huge successes and huge failures, but I'm still here. I'm still doing it.
That's great. Appreciate it.
Very powerful thing to think about. Art. Where can we check out Everclear? Is it best on the website? I know you can check it out music anywhere. All your songs.
You're asking the wrong guy, dude.
Got
I
it.
don't do that. You should do the due diligence on that and figure that out. Um,
Google.
I'm
Just
sure.
Google
I mean,
Everclear.
we have websites. We're on all social media. I don't do that stuff.
Hey, they
I
don't
do
need
it
to.
when
With
they
your great
do.
music, you don't need to. Appreciate it, Art. Thanks again.
Okay.
Appreciate it. All right.
Thanks.
That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto. Greg Hanna, guys. Take care.